So one of the things we said we'd come back and talk about was perhaps an unsettling feeling about overriding a bunch of styles that we just created. Let's go back to our editor and let's do a split screen. Now that we have our styles and our HTML in separate files, we can look at these side by side. So now our immediate problem is that we styled the h2 tag here, and we're having to override a lot of these styles down here. So what are some ways we can get around this? Well, because there's so much flexibility in CSS, there's actually a number of different approaches we can take. For example, we can add unique classes to each one of the elements in our HTML and use those classes to style over here. That way we can use heading 2 tags throughout our HTML, but because the styles aren't on the h2 element directly, we don't have to do any overriding. So that's not a bad idea. Another option is that we can add classes to the container elements, kind of like we did here with the section different, and then target the element tags within this other class. Okay, so the problem of unnecessarily overriding styles can be solved by using classes in our container elements or classes in the individual elements that we're styling. So that's good. Another problem that we haven't run into yet, but eventually we might, is the idea that our HTML structure might change while we want the styles to stay the same. For example, in these sections here, we're using h2 tags for the title, but what if eventually we decide that they need to be h1 tags? Well, if we change that, our styles are going to break because they're applying to h2 tags specifically. But if we had added a class to this h2 element that describes what it is, for example, it's a section title, and we used that class instead to style it, instead of the h2 tag directly, then we wouldn't have to worry about our CSS at all. Okay, so let's go to the extreme here while our code is still relatively short and move away from using element selectors and instead shift to using just class selectors.